Hello, welcome to Reaching for the Moon, hosted by me, Ed Grace. For those of you that don't know me well, I worked on the Apollo program for 10 years, and I was a member of the Apollo 13 mission operations team that was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. There's been a lot of excitement in the space exploration world just recently, and I'd like to take today's video to bring you up to date on several missions. In July, 3 unmanned missions, Mars 2020, were launched from Earth with a destination of Mars by NASA, China, United Arab Emirates. All 3 are planned to arrive at Mars in February 2021. NASA launched its Perseverance rover. China launched its Tianwen-1 orbiter, lander, and rover, all in one probe, and United Arab Emirates launched its Hope probe. All 3 are now just past the halfway mark on their journey, which means that each has traveled more than 146 million miles. All 3 have had successful mid-course correction burns to adjust their orbits on the way to Mars. An indication of how far these probes are from Earth, at Perseverance's current location, it takes 2 minutes and 22 seconds for a transmission to travel each way between Mission Control at JPL and Perseverance using NASA's Deep Space Network. When Perseverance reaches Mars, it will have traveled 292 million miles. At that time, Mars will be approximately 130 million miles from Earth, and a transmission from or to Perseverance will take 11.5 minutes, much longer than currently. As you can see on this display, Mars is moving farther from Earth every day. 2 experiments on Perseverance were also tested and worked properly. The radar image for Mars subsurface experiment, known as RIMFAX, which will use radar waves to probe and explore the ground under the rover. Also, the Mars Oxygen In Situ Resource Utilization Experiment, better known as MOXIE, and it will demonstrate a way that future explorers might produce oxygen from the Martian atmosphere for propellant and breathing. This NASA experiment is for future preparation for human exploration on Mars. China announced its plans to land their rover in the northern hemisphere basin area of Utopia Planitia. The landing location for the probe was carefully picked because of the terrain of Mars. The southern hemisphere of Mars is mountainous, while the northern hemisphere has more plains. After arrival in Mars orbit, the Tianwen-1 will spend 2 to 3 months using high-resolution cameras to assess the potential landing sites and conditions to select the rover's landing location. After a final landing location is chosen, the spacecraft, which contains the lander and the rover, will separate from the orbiter and enter into Mars' atmosphere. A parachute will slow the craft before retropropulsion rockets provide the final deceleration for the descent onto the Martian surface. The rover will then descend from the lander and explore the Mars surface. After it lands, the Tianwen-1 rover is expected to operate for about 90 Earth days, and the orbiter will last about 2 Earth years. The Tianwen-1 orbiter contains 7 instruments, whereas the rover has 6 scientific instruments. The United Arab Emirates' first ever interplanetary spacecraft, the Hope probe, has successfully completed its initial post-launch course correction. The Hope probe is scheduled several more trajectory corrections before it arrives at the Red Planet. Once in orbit, Hope probe will study the Martian atmosphere and climate. The United Arab Emirates issued a statement that they were extremely delighted with the performance of their Mars Hope probe. Well, that concludes our Mars 2020 Journey Update for today. I'll continue to update on Mars 2020 as we get closer to February and the probes reach Mars. Interpretation, resource identification, security, regolith, explorer, or better known as OSIRIS-REx. That was launched on an Atlas V rocket on September 8, 2016 from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. As planned, OSIRIS-REx reached and entered an orbit around Asteroid Bennu 2+ years later in December of 2018. This mission will be a 7-year-long voyage, and it's going to start its return to Earth when the window for departure from the asteroid opens in March 2021. OSIRIS-REx has been orbiting and studying Asteroid Bennu since its arrival in 2018. In October, OSIRIS-REx made a dramatic 6-second touchdown on Asteroid Bennu to collect some samples from the asteroid. Initially, it was undetermined if sufficient samples had been collected. However, upon studying the videos, it was determined that the spacecraft's touch-and-go sample arm mechanism was full of samples. Following the test, the mission team received telemetry confirming that the spacecraft's collector head is properly secured in the sample return capsule. The images show that the OSIRIS-REx capturing the asteroid sample in the sample return capsule using a camera on board. Since OSIRIS-REx is more than 205 million miles from Earth, there's a time delay of 18.5 minutes for signals in traveling in each direction. OSIRIS-REx will arrive back at Earth in September of 2023. The goal is to bring up to 4 pounds of samples of the asteroid in the sample return capsule, which it will deliver by parachute into Utah's West Desert, where the scientists will be waiting to collect it. By studying these asteroid samples, we'll provide insight into whether asteroid mining during deep space exploration and travel is feasible and worth the expense. Well, there are several other projects I'd like to report on, like SpaceX Starlink and SpaceX Crew 1 mission. However, we're running out of time today, and they're going to have to wait for a future video. On our next video, we're going to discuss the human landing systems that will be used to go to and from the moon on the Artemis project. If you like today's video, give us a like. Hit the subscribe button. That way you'll receive an email every time Reaching for the Moon publishes a new video. In the meantime, remember, failure is not an option. And thanks for watching. Bye.